Living and working in bear country, a black bear awareness and safety training for the Los Alamos Medical Center. First off, we may ask the question, why bear safety training at a hospital? As you'll see, Los Alamos, New Mexico sits in the heart of Santa Fe National Forest. Not only is this an amazing scenic destination for many people, it is also prime bear habitat. And in the middle of Los Alamos, New Mexico, sits the Los Alamos Medical Center. But is this training really necessary? Well, let's back up and look at a few statistics. First off, this is not meant to scare anyone. The reason we are looking at fatal bear attack statistics is because it's pretty much the only statistics that we have really hard, good data on. Not many states record bear incidences, and so the only thing that is consistently recorded is the number of fatal bear attacks. And what I did is I cataloged all the bear attacks over the last century. And what this slide here shows is that bear attacks from both black bears and grizzlies is on the rise. The red line, of course, is the combination of those two events. If you look at the projections for 2010, you will see, again, we're on that increasing trend. So needless to say, the statistics show that bear-human encounters are on the rise. And so we have to learn how to deal with this. We have to learn how to live peacefully and coexist with bears in bear country. So what is the purpose of this training? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a picture of one of the deadliest animals in North America. Are you ready? Believe it or not, it is not what many people think. It is not a black bear. Rather, it's a bumblebee. If you look at statistics, over the last 50 years, bees cause almost 50 fatalities per year. Bears, on the other hand, are less than 2. So if you put this in perspective, you're about 25 times more likely to be killed by a bee than you are by a black bear. So the purpose of this training is not to scare anyone. It's simply to teach you how to be smart and not be afraid. So how do you live and work safely in bear country? Well, most people are quick to jump on the computer and Google things. And if you do that, you will be bombarded with information galore. There's Be Bear Aware, Bear Wise, Get Bear Smart. There's loads and loads of information out there for people to take in, but oftentimes it's overwhelming. There's so many different directions on what you should or shouldn't do that most of the time you end up being more confused than ever. And so I boiled it down to a simple acronym. And if you could just remember to just ask, you'll know everything you need to know about being safe in bear country. So what does ASK stand for? It's simple. There's 3 key points that you have to remember when you're trying to be safe and you ask about being safe. The first thing that stands for manage attractants. That's the A in the acronym. The second thing is you must know how to stay safe if a situation presents itself. There's the S. Then lastly, the K stands for be knowledgeable. If you want to know what to do, you have to know a little bit about the animal that you're worried about. The great thing with this acronym is it's easily remembered, it's very succinct, and it literally fits every situation. We don't have to just be talking about bears. We could be talking about cougars or wolves or coyotes or any other animal you may be concerned about. So how does this work? Well, let's start with the A for attractants. And the goal here is that you must learn to manage your attractants. So what is an attractant to a black bear? Well, it's quite simple. It's anything that appeals to their senses. Now you have to understand a bear's senses are far greater than any human being, and their most keen sense is their sense of smell. It's literally unrivaled in the animal world. That means you really have to manage things that produce an odor. So what kind of attractants may there be at the Los Alamos Medical Center? Well, first and foremost, you have to think of the garbage dumpsters. Now, this is not a knock against the center. It's simply a fact of life. Every business, every house has trash receptacles. The thing with trash receptacles is you usually put food stuff in there, whether or not it's wrappers or discarded food that's left uneaten. These things create an aroma that is just simply irresistible to bears. And so you have to understand that garbage dumpsters are a huge attractant to any bear that's wandering the hillsides. The second thing is you have a cafeteria within the building. Again, many places have places or establishments that produce food. Those aromas that they emit are huge attractants to animals. Oftentimes, these animals are starved searching for food, especially at different times of the year. And so anything that smells that may tempt their stomach is going to be an attractant for a bear. And last but not least, when you combine those two, when you have the medical center that has a cafeteria, it sits in the heart of a beautiful country, and you have a picnic area just outside the hospital. And so many people are tempted and encouraged to go outside and eat on the picnic table. Once again, the end result of this is aromas that are put up in the air that will become an attractant for a bear. And if you don't believe me that bears are attracted to Los Alamos, believe me, there are frequent visitors in and around the hospital. So the moral of this story, or the lesson for this first section to manage your attractants, is you must be aware of anything that attracts bears, in particularly anything that puts up a good smell, whether or not it's a food source or anything very aromatic that may smell tempting to a bear is something you need to be aware of. So let's move on to the second letter, the S in ask, and that stands for stay safe. Well, how do you stay safe? First of all, there are some products that people use in order to protect themselves from bears. There's such things as bear spray or these bear bells, and those products are extremely useful if you're going to be hiking in bear country, but they're not very practical for a work situation such as yours. And so the best thing that you can do in order to stay safe is simple. It's a tool that you carry around with you at all times. It's your brain. And what you have to use your brain for in order to stay safe is follow common sense procedures. If there are safety guidelines, for example, there are stickers on the dumpsters outside the hospital that talk about be bear aware. And they tell you some guidance as to how you should dispose of your food and how you should behave around bears. Simply follow safety guidelines that are put out through either state or federal agencies that deal with black bears. The most important aspect of all, however, when it comes to staying safe and using your brain is pretty simple. It's a common safety procedure for all walks of life. It's simply be aware of your surroundings. And so when you are walking outside in the parking lot behind the medical center, especially in the area that the dumpsters are contained, oftentimes there's numerous cars parked there. By all means, if you are walking through the parking lot, especially in the dawn or dusk hours when bears are most active, just be mindful of what you may encounter out in the parking lot. The last thing you want to do is surprise a bear at close range. So situational awareness and being aware of your surroundings is the most important aspect of staying safe. And last but not least, we want everyone to be knowledgeable about black bears. They're an amazing animal, nothing to be afraid of. However, there are some precautionary measures that must be taken every time you encounter a bear. So we must remind ourselves that a knowledgeable staff is not just a smarter staff, it's a much safer staff as well. So, in order to be knowledgeable, what is there to know about black bears? Well, first of all, when we talk about black bears, there's a lot of key pieces of information that you must know that may actually help you be safer around them when you encounter them. So let's start with some basic biology. First of all, black bears are not as big as many people believe them to be. Usually mature males will be in the 200 to 400 pound range, and mature females rarely ever top 200 pounds. They have incredible home ranges, so a bear that you see here in Los Alamos may be in the middle of the caldera within 24 hours, and so they can move around quite a bit. However, I'll explain that in more detail in a second. Bears are classified as omnivores. A lot of people believe them to be carnivores, that they only eat meat, and that is simply untrue. In fact, 90% of a bear's diet usually consists of vegetable matter. Obviously, in the wintertime, they're usually sleeping in their den, so there's less of the likelihood of that. But emergence from the den is a time when bears are extremely hungry because they haven't eaten in a period of 4 or 5 months, and so there's probably extra precaution that needs to be taken at that time of the year. Also, their senses, like was stated before, are extremely sharp, much greater than any of the human senses. Even though their eyesight is comparable to ours, their hearing is above ours, and their sense of smell is absolutely unequaled. In fact, I'll give you a little analogy to demonstrate how strong their sense of smell is. It is said that a dog's sense of smell is usually about 100 times stronger than a human's. A bloodhound, for that matter, is usually much, much stronger than an ordinary dog. Any bear, whether it be a black bear or any other species of bear, has a sense of smell that's 7 times stronger than any bloodhound. This analogy is helpful to make you realize that it's an incredible sense of smell. However, it's difficult to comprehend. So another analogy I use, because you'd believe that a bear would be overwhelmed with such an incredible sense of smell. He'd be bombarded with all these different stimuli. And many people have children that they have raised or they have watched throughout their life. And if you imagine being in a very busy room with lots of screaming children running around all over, and when your child falls and screams out or yells your name, you immediately pick up on it. And that's how we equate the bear's sense of smell. They can detect literally thousands upon thousands of different stimuli, but then when they focus in on something, for example, a hot dog or a burger that had just come out off the grill, they can key in on that and they can locate that piece, that they can locate that burger from miles and miles away. Needless to say, a bear's sense of smell is something that you have to be keenly aware of. So what color are black bears? Well, believe it or not, they're not always black. Here in New Mexico, they range in color from black to cinnamon to blonde to brown. But strangely enough, there are also other color phases such as white black bears and blue black bears. Those last two, however, are not found in New Mexico. So you're likely to see a bear of the cinnamon, the brown, or the black color here around the hospital. Oftentimes you could look for bear sign. They leave it quite regularly, whether or not it scratches on a tree, but more often than not, most people are aware of the scat that they leave behind. So, what about their behavior is it that you must know in order to be safer when viewing black bears? First of all, you must know when you are in a high-risk situation when it comes to encountering a black bear. There are certain situations that should cause you to take extra precaution. For example, just like the situational awareness, you never want to surprise a bear at close range. That bear is going to react in a defensive manner because he's trying to defend his personal space. You also need to be extra cautious if there's a bear around a food source. Again, the dumpster is a main food source for some of these bears. And so they may protect that area more so than if you just encounter it in the wild. Another situation which many people are quite familiar with is encountering a mother with cubs. Obviously, she's very protective, and so you got to take extra precaution regarding a mother with cubs. Another thing is during the mating season, which usually occurs around late May all the way through the month of June. Obviously, if you encounter two bears during this time, you have to understand that they may be protective of each other. And last but not least, you have to be aware if dogs are around. Many people like having dogs around for protection. However, dogs, especially when they're off leash, may cause a high-risk situation simply because that dog, if it gets scared, may run back to you with a bear in tow. The thing with those 5 situations I just mentioned all cause a bear to react defensively, and you must know the situation in order to respond appropriately. The last category of behaviors for a bear, which is extremely, extremely rare, however, it is the most dangerous potentially, is when a bear behaves predatorily or in an offensive manner. That is when he becomes interested in you. And so, once again, you have to recognize a bear's behavior, whether or not it is defensive or offensive, and you react differently in both situations. So how do you recognize the defensive and offensive behaviors? Well, first off, if a bear knows you're there and doesn't run, just be mindful of that. They're unpredictable, but they do give you clues as to their temperament. For example, there are certain vocalizations that a bear will use. There is a woofing sound where he exhales quickly to warn you. It sounds something like a he's literally telling you that you're too close. Please back up. And he's doing this in a polite manner, but it may take many people by surprise. Another vocalization that the bear uses is a behavior called teeth or jaw popping, where they smack their lips together in rapid succession, creating a popping noise with their jaw. Again, this is just him trying to tell you, please back up, I'm uncomfortable with you being around me. Once again, this is a defensive behavior exhibited by the bear. But then it begins to elevate, and the bear becomes more and more distressed. And so another behavior he may soon do is what we call a false or a bluff charge. Now, this is not oftentimes a bear running at you for 50 yards or more. This is usually just 1 or 2 steps. The bear will turn, face its opposition, and just take 1 or 2 steps just to let them know that they're there and to get you to back up. Usually it's very effective. But again, this is simply a sign from a bear that it's in a defensive mode. He just wants you to leave the area. And last but not least, for defensive behaviors, is when a bear swats the ground, or sometimes he may even attack a nearby bush. This is kind of the highest level of warning that he gives. What he's trying to do is demonstrate, if you don't leave me alone, I'm going to take out my frustration, and he's showing it on the bush, thankfully. And so all those behaviors, whether or not it's woofing, teeth popping, a false charge, or swatting the ground, the bear is simply telling you, you're in my space, please back up. And there's something you should do, and it's simply you should back up. Now, I will mention the offensive behavior, and that is if a bear continuously stalks you or begins to follow you and just won't leave you alone. That is a situation that should really cause concern, simply because the bear is interested in you. And so you do react differently in that situation, and we'll explain those differences here shortly. So how do you react? Well, when the bear is acting defensively, the first thing you want to do is don't pose as a threat. He simply does not want you around. And so the best thing for you to do is simply slowly back away. And don't maintain eye contact. Bears are extremely intelligent animals, and if you stare at them, they will perceive that as a threat. And so you don't want to lose sight of them, but you don't want to have direct eye contact with them. And then if the bear starts to come at you, you shout to try to get him to stop, but you shout softly. You don't want to intimidate him. So, for example, you might say, whoa, 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 bear, back up. I'm getting away. You don't want to be aggressive at it, but you do want to capture his attention. Last but not least, if you surprise a bear, whether or not it's a mother with cubs or close range, and there's just simply a very quick reaction, you have no time to react, and the bear comes at you, what you should do is curl up and make sure you do not pose as a threat. Oftentimes, as soon as the bear realizes that the threat is not there, they leave the scene immediately. If, however, attack persists, then by all means, you really need to fight back. Now that leads us to the offensive behavior. Again, this is rare, and more than likely, you will never ever have to use these defense tactics. First off, if a bear stalks you and follows you, you don't want to lay down. You do not want to pose as a meal. Secondly, you keep backing away. You've got to remove yourself from that situation. This time, however, you do maintain eye contact. The bear is looking at you in a predatory manner, and so by you staring at him usually causes him to slow down because he's trying to gain the upper advantage. And then if the bear does come at you, this time you shout like you mean it. You scream with all your might, you be aggressive. You let that bear know that if he tries to come at you, that you're going to eat him instead. And last but not least, if contact does occur, you fight with all your might because your life depends on it. In summary, if you want to stay safe in bear country, remember, all you have to do is just ask. You simply manage your attractants, you stay safe, and you be knowledgeable. And practicing those 3 things, you'll be able to enjoy bears and bear country where you're at.